Hey guys, my name is Topher. I am a quote full-time reseller, as in this is my only job. I sell men's clothing on eBay, but have tried so many things over the past 2.5, 3 years that I'm excited to share. I've spent 8 years being a lurker on YouTube, never really commenting, liking, never really making videos, but watching all different sorts of YouTube, from entrepreneurship to skateboarding to boating to fishing, all this stuff, and never thought I could make it. Always kind of wanted to try, but I think I'm just here to document some of my favorite finds, some of my favorite sales, some things going on that I can look back on. And if anyone wants to join me in that would be awesome. We'll see how it goes. Before we get to my thoughts on reselling and everything, I've got to pull a few orders. We'll see what sold today, and then I'll go back through some of my favorite sales this week that I want to document. And yeah. So first, I sold this morning. This is a Troy Lee Designs motocross jersey. It's made of mesh. You wouldn't think it's really high material. It's new with tags, but it doesn't look very, I don't know, quality. But I have sold Troy Lee Designs before, and I pretty much pick it up whenever I can because it sells very fast. This one, not so fast. I paid $8 for it at my local thrift store, and it sold for $25 in about a week. The next thing I sold was these Carhartt carpenter pants. They're kind of a weird size. They're a 30-inch inseam, but I haven't had a problem with that. These are the style number. Actually, I'll show you here. Can you see it? I wonder if you can see it. Right down here, it's B151 FAT. The FAT is like fatigue green, and B51 is, let's see if I can find the actual name, Dungaree Fit Cotton Canvas Work Pants for Carhartt. Carhartt's very simple names, nothing fancy, but these always sell really fast for me. They do cost me at my local thrift store from like $8 to $10, and they usually sell. I've sold 2 pairs in the last month, including this pair, for $25 on offer. I list them for $30, take an offer of $25. But it's always nice. It's not a huge margin, especially since that has to ship in a padded flat rate envelope. But it's very nice because I can just hit sell similar on my eBay, and it takes me like 2 seconds to list it. Just update the size and the color, and as long as it's in good condition, just get it listed really fast. Take pictures. Next, I've got this Polo Ralph Lauren Hawaiian shirt. This has been listed for, I don't know, probably 2 weeks. It didn't sell quite as quick. It's got that sailboat print. I think this might be vintage. I'm not super good at Polo Ralph Lauren stuff, identifying what's vintage, because they didn't make a lot of stuff in the USA. But the print was good. Polo Ralph Lauren's a good brand for kind of the crazier, more desirable prints. It's something I pick up fairly often, but not always. It's a weird brand. But the Hawaiian shirts do all right. That one in particular, I listed it at $35, and I think the market was around $40 to $50, or at least the listed. The solds were a little bit lower, $30 to $40. And I sent out a best offer to watchers for $25, and someone scoop that up. Love a quick flip. I don't have a ton of space. This is pretty much it for my inventory, so I like to get things out at a profit, especially that's first class. It'll ship really light, and there's no problem. Next, a pair of shoes. Shoes aren't my favorite thing to sell, but it's part of just selling, is that you have to sell things you don't really want to sell. These are Cole Haan Zero Grand. You can tell it's got the gold on the insole there and on the bottom. Cole Haan is a really frustrating brand for me, because I see these fairly frequently, and they have style codes on the inside that start with a C, and there's just so much that sells well and so much that doesn't, and then sometimes I think something will sell really fast and it doesn't, but these sold within a day. They're like lightweight, they're like perforated, so like whatever color your socks is will come through. So these did really well. Some other Oxfords don't do as well. I probably paid 10 to 13 bucks, and they sold for 40 on an offer. I listed them at 50. But again, especially with shoes, I like to sell them really quick because I have one shoe bin and a box full of shoes, and I just like shipping them is a pain in the butt. Not really compared to other things, but compared to like a t-shirt, you slide it in a poly mailer, no big deal. But these, you box up and everything. So I only do probably if they're worth more than 35, I'll buy a pair of shoes. Then last up today, only the 5 sales is this pair of Lululemon shorts. Lululemon, I feel pretty lucky. I find probably 1 to 3 times a week at just this one thrift store that I go to near my house, which I'm very lucky to have it. I find it's pretty easy to pick up and recognize once you get the feel for it. Everyone talks about the Lululemon feel. But also you can always look for the little omega symbol right at the bottom. It's usually on the, back left thigh. It also can be in the middle back of the shorts. Or I've seen some of the older stuff puts it right there in the waistband, which is weird. But you can usually tell by the feel, and that there's no tag because the tags are rip off, and people usually tear the rags off. This one I paid $5 for, $4 or $5, and only sold for 20 because the zipper's like corroded and it won't slide. Yeah, Lululemon is always fun, easy to pick up because the thrift stores don't usually catch it and they don't mark it up. So here are some of my favorite sales from this week. I just picked out 7 of them that I just wanted to talk about. I sell anywhere from 3 to 7 items a day. But I figured that these would be fun to talk about, and there's tons of other YouTube videos you can see of just sheer quantity of what sells. So I'll try to put things up, screenshots up here of what things sold for. Now the first thing are these St. John's Bay packable cargo trekking shorts is what they're called, and I've never seen these talked about because a lot of times they don't have tags. I think this one has tags, but in the waistband, but you have to look in the back zipper pocket, and you open it up and there is this graphic on the inside of the pocket, and they pack into themselves, and they're not worth a ton of money. I usually pick them up for $5 and sell them for 20 and end up profiting $5, $6, $7 depending on how much shipping is. Everything is free shipping on my store. And they usually sell really, really fast for me, though I think now they are slowing down a little bit because it's the end of the summer. Next I have these Nike dry fit shorts, and these are basketball shorts, and they were like a mesh type material. But I've been learning about Nike shorts, and recently as I've come into full-time reselling, I've been trying to find more bread and butter items. So less items that I can buy for $10 and sell for $150, and more items that I can buy for a few bucks and sell from $15 to $30 really fast, where they sell in a week or 2 weeks or less, and I can find them frequently. So one of those is those trekking shorts I find fairly frequently, but Nike shorts is another one I've been trying to get into for so long. I didn't include Nike as a list of brands unless it was really crazy, but there is a big market for Nike basketball shorts and Nike running shorts. These only sold for $20. I probably paid, or $17, excuse me. I probably paid usually $4 or $5 for these, and I can find different versions. And then also I'll put another picture up here of the tag. Just like Nike shoes, there is a 6-digit, or I guess they can have letters in it too, code that is a style code, and then the 3-digit, and that's a color code. But they have those for clothes too, if you can find the material tag, not the size tag, but the one that has a bunch of different languages and all that stuff on it. Usually at the bottom there's this small tag with a swoosh on it that has that code, and you can look it up on Google or whatever, and usually that helps find buyers. So I don't buy Nike shorts unless they're in like flawless condition and they have that tag so they're identifiable. Next up we have Patagonia baggies. Now last year when the lockdown started and thrift stores closed, I started online arbitrage. I kind of just was like, I can either stop my eBay business and start it again, or I can find something else that works. I can adapt to the pandemic, because who knows how long the thrift stores will be closed. And so I have an interest in outdoor stuff, so I just bought Patagonia stuff, and eventually I got to last summer baggies were just selling so fast. I'd list them and they'd sell the same day for $40. So I would buy them at $25 or less. Anything that was $25 or less total with shipping, I would buy them, I'd make bundle deals, I'd do all this stuff. I'd look at people's Depop stores, because Depop, if you don't know, is more of a streetwear. There's a lot more vintage community on there and less of some other things, so it's fairly easy for me to find baggies on there for pretty cheap. And so these ones I bought on Depop with another pair for $27 total. They didn't have the tags, that were cut out, but I've sold so many baggies that I know the measurements, and I take measurements for all my things, and I was able to find a size for them. And those sold for full price, asking price of $39.95, and I had $13 into them. Next one, this is just a cool find that I had. It's at Anaheim Mighty Ducks. I don't know that much about hockey, but I did some research, and I think it's just the Anaheim Ducks now. And so if you find the vintage Mighty Ducks stuff, there's a big following and people want it. The sweatshirt was pretty beat up. It wasn't beat up, it was just worn. So the graphic was all cracked and faded and everything. But some people like that a lot. Some people don't, but either way, there's no tag on it. I knew the measurements, and it said logo 7 at the very bottom. It had that tag. And then often with vintage stuff, I dip my toe into vintage a little bit. There will be a date on the print, or at least like a company name, or all those things that you can find. So this one's from 1993. The next thing I have is shoes. As I said before, I don't really like selling shoes because I have to clean them, and then I got to put them in a box to list or to ship them, and they just take up a lot of storage space, but there's good money in them. These are Ultra Range Rapid Weld Nomad Camo. And as you guys will find out, I'm a stickler for product names, like official product names from the company. And so I did a lot of Googling for, it says Ultra Range right on the tongue there. So Ultra Range Camo, and looked until I find the exact one that was a Rapid Weld Nomad. I'm not sure where the color begins and the model ends, but it's pretty easy. Then I just hit sell similar on one of those listings. But these were a men's size 8, which normally smaller sizes don't do very well for me. But camo is really in right now. Just that print. So if you can find a good brand with a good print, usually sells pretty quick. These sold within a day for me. I did pay up for them. I paid $13, but they're in really good condition. I didn't do much cleaning. Just took the tag off and rubbed off the Sharpie price on the bottom. And they sold same day for $39.95, which is under market, but I'm trying to list things under market because I don't have a lot of spending budget right now because so much of it is stuck in fall and winter gear. So lastly, this might be one of my favorite flips of all time. It's this Powell Peralta Bucky LaSick t-shirt, single stitch, so it's vintage. Which all I mean by single stitch is that if you look at the sleeve, like my sleeve, I don't know if you can tell, has 2 stitches there because it's not vintage. If it's single stitch, it doesn't totally mean it's vintage, but usually it does, and it adds just more value to something that's already vintage. The tag was Powell Peralta. It was made in USA, definitely vintage. And so how I came by this shirt was, I'm a skateboarder. I love skating things, and I've been on the lookout for a Powell Peralta t-shirt. It's just the graphic of that skeleton ripping through. It's called Ripper. I've been on lookout for it, so I have a few search notifications on Depop and eBay for Powell Peralta t-shirts, or just Powell Peralta clothes, because they mostly make skateboards these days, and so there's only a few that come up every week. And this came up on Depop, and it was vintage, and it was $55, which is a lot of money for me to generally source with, but I had some confidence with what I'd done with Patagonia this past year. And this, I couldn't find anything like it. I did find one red t-shirt that had this back graphic on it, and the front, like the bird bending over, which is Bucky LaSick's thing. And that sold for like $162. And it was a good size XL, so I said, heck yeah, I'll just buy it, and I can at least flip it for $55 on eBay, because I know it's a big market. It's an XL, which is my size, and I wanted to wear it, so I decided to list it at $300, because I thought it would sell for around $200. And I was shooting for $150, and so I listed it for $300 so I could wear it, maybe get a few pictures in it, get some people to see it. And it sold an hour after I listed it for $300, which I'm working on it. It kind of hurts because it feels like, well, what if I could have got $500 or whatever for it? But I made $250, so I can't really complain that much about it. I did put it on and it fit too slim on me. I like really baggy t-shirts. The vintage shirts run small. And I'm not a big Supreme guy, but I'm not sure why it has everything on it, like the underarm graphic and the rippers in a weird spot and the Supreme across the hip. I think it might have been a test where they just tested all the screens, or like somebody who worked there just decided to make their own t-shirt. So I think it's one of a kind. So we'll see. It is going overseas. It went to a freight forwarder called, it's like Shop Airlines or something in California. I have seen a seller sell Patagonian vintage stuff in Japan, and they have absurd prices. So I'm wondering if this will come up again in my saved search, and be interested to see how much they list it for and if it sells. It was a cool thing. I'm bummed I couldn't wear it, but it feels a little bit better that it didn't fit as well as I want it to. So I know this video is getting a little long. So to wrap up, I just wanted to talk about why I'm reselling, like what I'm up to, and all of that stuff. So 3 years ago now, I dropped out of an aerospace engineering program after a year. It just wasn't for me. Engineering, I wanted to be a pilot, so I went to flight school. But then I just started reselling just as like a side game thing. I've always loved thrifting, garage sailing, just anything to get that treasure hunt hit. Like every time you find something, you're like, yes. And so my closet was starting to stack up with all sorts of just junk. And so I saw a Columbia PFG shirt and I said, hey, that's worth money. I could sell that. So I spent $8 on two things and started selling on eBay. And over time, it's ebbed and flowed as it's been a hobby. And then this past year, I really wanted to start doing it. I've sold on Depop. I've sold on Poshmark. I don't think I've listed anything on Mercari. And I've sold on Instagram. And eBay has been the only constant, was my primary one. I don't mind Poshmark. I actually kind of like it, but it's just hard to, it's just a totally different platform to navigate. And Instagram, I hated so much. I wanted to be able to sell things to my friends, have like a big presence, and get people excited about the style of things. See, on eBay, people are looking for Lululemon, Polo Ralph, all those other brands that I mentioned. They're looking for specific items. They're not looking for striped t-shirt or vintage Hawaii t-shirt or whatever. And so I wanted to be able to sell on Instagram a curated style of vintage clothes and just t-shirts that I really liked at the thrift store. I love t-shirts. I have just so many of them, this being one of them from the thrift store. So I wanted to offer that to other people, but the marketing was just not something I enjoyed. I had to edit all the photos before they went up on Instagram. I had to come up with hashtags and captions and stories and all this stuff, and it just wasn't going to happen for me. I just didn't get a lot of reward out of it, so I'm hoping YouTube, it'll be quick and dirty. Just I'll take 3 videos for this video and just chop them up, add some overlays and some audio. It'll be super quick. I enjoy doing that too. And then I can upload it and be done with it. And I'm also not hoping for any big profit. I've tried to leave my entrepreneurial brain out of it and just do it for fun, to document for myself and to build a community, and just be a part of a community I've been a part of for so long. I've always lurked on YouTube and just watched videos of what my interest is at the time, whether it's like fishing, boating, reselling all the time or whatever. And so I've always been a part of it. I've always watched people, seen things I like and don't like. And currently, as a reseller, I just want to listen to people talk about their reselling while I do my reselling work. So I figured to offer that more to other people, a little bit more niche work in men's clothing. The reselling community doesn't really love clothing. They always go with like vintage or like a different niche of clothing, whereas there's money to be made everywhere in clothing. It doesn't have to be slow sellers. It doesn't have to be low margins, although I kind of run low margins. And I think there's just a lack of resources as people try and move towards electronics, where it's just a pain in the butt to test and ship and all that stuff. Which there's nothing wrong with that. If people enjoy doing that, they hate doing clothes, that's fine. But where I'm coming from is I just didn't have a lot of space for huge bulky electronics to sell a $10 VCR for 40 bucks and like ship it out and take an extra run to FedEx. And so these days I mostly do clothes because I don't mind taking measurements. It takes me an average of 2 to 3 minutes to take pictures of clothes and another 3 minutes to list it. And electronics I have to buy, I have to test and make sure they work, whether that's at the thrift store and then again at home. And then when it comes time to ship, I need bubble wrap and a big enough box, and then sometimes the box is too big and I'm using too much bubble wrap, and oh gosh, I hate it. So nowadays I still buy small electronic stuff. I just picked up like a Sony VCR that had a remote for like 10 bucks that I know I've sold it before, so all I have to do is sell similar on my old listing, and I know it's just gonna be a quick 50 bucks, and I have the boxes for it, but I just don't like piling up all those electronics. And it's my encouragement is just do what you want to do too. It feels good. I love just, on Monday mornings I've got 20 sales to go out from the weekend, and I just put them all on the table and slide them into poly mailers, and then put them all in one basket for the post office. And it's just so nice to be able to do that. I'd rather do the front end work in the measurements and the pictures than the back end works of shipping and storing. So that's where I'm at now. My hopes is to be full-time. I'm averaging $60 a day and like $360 on the weekends. So it's not quite what you would call a full-time income, which is why I always do the air quotes around full-time. And so I'm trying to grow. Right now I'm not trying to like list more and to sell more, because I know that doesn't really work because you end up with a lot of garbage in your inventory. I'm trying to install systems in my business that are really going to work, so I'm excited to talk about those in the future of this channel. I'm not going to beg you guys for likes or subscriptions because I don't know if I really want to care about that and worry about metrics, because I just want to put videos out there, and if people like it, they like it. So I'll be around next week for another video of me just rambling and sharing sales and just talking about reselling and what it's like for me. So yeah, leave any questions you have in the comments. I'd love to interact with people. I'm sure this video will get like 4 views this week, but I look forward to starting this journey. See ya.